So, to fill you in what is going on here, you are correct in some of this footage is from the seat removal video, which is also up. But that was just the first part of maintenance. That just happened to be good enough to make a separate video. So, enjoy. Before we get started, the necessary tools required for this is very simple. 2 arms, 2 legs, and a T40 Torx. Let's get into it. You're going to start by removing these Torx. Now, if you see those 3 latches down there, there is 3 of these, which you need to take out. Now, the next step is to grab the back of the bottom piece of your seat with your hand and act like you were folding it out. Like, you want to do this on both sides. It's the same exact process. Okay. Now, this is an optional step, but I'm just going to give this bottom piece a very quick vacuum before I put in the new seats, or remove to the top at least. The next step is, as you can see on the driver's side here, there is a seatbelt locker, which you need to take that out. So the next step is rather simple. What you need to do is you need to grab a screwdriver and a rubber mallet and hit this piece of metal out of the lock, which this is probably going to be pretty hard to get on camera. Recommended for getting that lock out. It's a big flathead and a decently large hammer. And once it's off the lock, simply remove your passenger side, your driver's side rear seat. Now, when you're lifting, you don't have to loosen anything in particular. There's a little plastic rod here, so you have to lift it up and then pull it out. Now, over here on the passenger side, same kind of lock. Get the hammer and the flathead and get to it. Now, a few weeks ago, I went to the junkyard and found a Focus Titanium with full leather back seats. Now, most of the interior was gone, but the back seats were there, so I only paid $25 for these. I grabbed these, and as a plus, I now have a cup holder in the rear. Not like anyone actually uses it, but let's get this stuff out there and get it set up. What do you know when you're filming 3 videos in an hour? Sometimes you lose footage or don't know where it goes. But the seats are installed. It's really simple. Take these T40 Torx. There's 4 of them. Retighten them back in. And simply pop your seats back in. One of the advantages of this seat is not only is it nicer, but I have this, and the other seats didn't have a cubby hole anyway, so it looks good. Also, it smells really good when you open the door, so that's a plus. Alright, one thing done, on to the rest. As for maintenance this round, obviously, on a 220,000 mile car, you can take an educated guess and say most of the transmission mounts, engine mounts, stuff like that are shot. which is the case here. So what I have right now is a torque strut mount, motor mount, and transmission mount here. They're going in. As well as, I never thought this would happen, but I got a transmission mount, and Moog finally got back to me with an end link bushing that they only sent me one for. It took them 4 months, but I did get it. Continuing on with the maintenance video, something very simple. Below here is my glove. Below my glove box is my interior fuse panel. Now I've had an issue where my 12 volt used to spin around and it wouldn't charge. When I tried to replace this connector, which as you can tell it's very loose, it shorted with a different Ford fuse from the junk fuse bin box, and hopefully this works. If not, there is a junkyard 2 hours away with a 2013 Focus with the exact part I need. I can just go get that, but that's $30 worth of gas. So if I could save $30 with a fuse, absolutely. So to fill you in on what happened, it was a simple 20 amp fuse, and I replaced it about 2 hours ago, and well, it works. So, the old motor mount isn't even off yet, and that is flat. Now, let's compare it to this. All of that travel is gone.
You can see right through there. Got nothing here.
Here we see in the motor, before this was bouncing. Now, I don't think it shows up on camera, but I can see it vibrating slightly. And if I put my hand on here, I can feel it. But before, you could visibly see it bouncing on camera. So that's an improvement. So here we are in my daily driver, and of course, you may notice the check engine light. Ignore the tire light, I have a spare on. But when you see the check engine light, that has been a P0420, and it has been coming and going as it pleases for the past few months. It started in the spring, and I assumed it was because I had a high mileage stock cat that was leaking. But with new cats and new plugs on, it just comes and goes as it pleases. So let's look at the OBD2 scanner and see what's up. And what do you know, if the camera would focus, P0420. Alright, so some parts were ordered. First of all, was the vapor canister hose in the front. I'll cut to the front of the motor to show you. And the solenoid that follows it. And the reason for that is we don't know what the solenoid is, but the hose was put in. But this Diamond Motorsports catch can. There you go. And a Symposer delete, which was also required, which is also in here. So let's cut to the engine. So underneath the 2-liter appliance engine, here we see this hose, which evidently is clean, unlike everything else. This is your hose. Now it is powered by a solenoid, which we don't know where it is, which we'll cut to the solenoid. So on top of the transmission mount, which is, you probably can't see it on the camera, but it is below there. On top of that, this is our solenoid, which is, I think, is almost universal, but gotta see where that goes first.
Pretty dirty. A lot of oil on it.
Well, it's off. There you go. Aim it down.
I am. I mean, they're right in there. Not doing anything, right?
Alright, you're gonna have to take my word for it, but it's pretty bad. If you don't see there, at the very end of that hose, there is a slight crack, which again is not surprising at all, considering it almost has a 250,000 miles. Okay. Stop shaking. You did just see that loose seal.
Here, grab that.
Okay.
This is the new one.
Obviously, that's not moving. Of course, you know, every time you're in the kitchen, he's got to make sure you're not stealing his dinner, obviously. Can't forget her. She's a little busy too. No, it's not edible. She no longer cares.
June 2021.
Okay, ready?
Alberta, Canada. A man named Sonny is walking
This is how everything goes together.
when he comes across
PCB valve's here,
made from limbs and branches.
gets connected to this line, which goes to the
It's
lower
organized,
inlet.
but
The upper
something not quite right.
goes to the intake manifold with the check valve. So it's basically going to be just like this.
Just picture this
Up against
as
the
in right there.
top. And then this gets plugged right on the back of the intake, right like that. And that's what you got.
Sonny is curious. So
I mean, there's dirt because the motor's got almost 250,000 miles, but there is no oil on the front of this, so that's a genuine surprise, especially because it's made in Germany by Bosch, so it's basically a BMW. Okay, so here we see the intake, and being the dingus I am and just realized that the camera was off angle filming all that, let me explain that. So you turn this here,
Take this, take that.
so just hold it. So you see this? This is your plate that covers it. Now, there is an option to run a blow-off valve through that, which is what this fitment is for, but in this case, just want to cover this whole plate up.
is mount this bracket here. Then you bend this hose in a little bit, position everything.
And that is how you mount it. So here we see this. Now this is part of the Symposer. So there's 1, 2, and 3. You gotta take this out. I already took 2 out. Alright, I just took the car for a 100-mile run, and look at that, the check engine light's back. So, let's go get the OBD2 scanner again. Well, that clearly didn't fix it, because the code that keeps on giving is, didn't quite go away, so on to the next thing.